stop following them on social media. It is a waste of your time. And right there, just a big old booty on like a workout machine going up and down. And I looked at it, I'm like, it's not even relevant to the search. You've been trained wrong. You've been conditioned over these last 10, 15 years now to make yourself try to be some sort of Mona Lisa. Honestly, if I could just shake you for 1 minute and say, why do you need to go find your Instagram girl in real life? Because do something about it. Do you know what I mean? So welcome back to another episode of 4x4 Recall, the show for entrepreneurs and business professionals where I help you create more relationships, more fun, and more meaning in your life. I'm your host, Chad Tabbery. Let's get into it. Today, we're talking about the sort of nasty feeling that comes after being on Instagram or TikTok or social media too long, where maybe if you're a guy like me, your search feed or your browse page is just filled with smoking hot girls. And half the time, I can't even tell if they're like AI generated or, they've even got these girls dancing. It's like, is it real? Is that waist that slender? Is it that hourglass legitimate? It's hard to say. The problem is you're falling into a brain trap. And the big point I want to make in this episode is that it's not really your fault. This is truly a man versus machine or man versus computing power situation, and the computing power wins. That's just, I'm gonna be real with you. Sometimes I open my phone and I was showing a business partner the other day. I was trying to show him how to properly frame something for some content creation and swipe something up, and right there, just a big old booty on like a workout machine going up and down. And I looked at him like, it's not even relevant to the search, but the algorithm through tracking the camera and looking at how long I paused on it, like it knew that it got me, it had me. So that, it caught me in that thirst trap. So we're going to go through 6 key points, mainly where I want you to learn how to navigate the thirst traps. But more importantly, I want you to shift your whole mindset into one, this sort of perspective of creating your own reality. But then two, I want you to realign yourself with getting in touch with the gorgeous women around you. I want you to find sort of this wealth of attractive women that are all around you, because the reality is real life is rich, man. Real life is, I used to describe it as like a sultry jacuzzi. So when you talk about your problems, business problems, relationship problems, raising your kid problems, your friends gossip about this or that, just look around, man, and pause for a moment and envision yourself in this sultry jacuzzi, because what would it feel like to not be there? We're super deep real fast on this one, but what would it feel like, even, let's say you were all knowing, all being everywhere? Some people think that like that godlike existence would be cool, right? I feel the opposite way. I think it would be absolutely boring if you knew every single thing that was happening next, and if you knew every single thing about everyone around you. It would be an unfulfilling life, because there is no contrast. The beauty of life is in the contrast, and the beauty of this life, in my opinion, my amateur philosopher opinion, the beauty of this life is the experience. I want you to experience it, not to get lost in this sort of digital dopamine hit. Does that make sense? Okay, so point number 1, you got to get out of thirst traps because they're draining your energy. They're draining your creativity in your business. They're draining your enthusiasm with your current relationships. They're draining the sensory perception of everything around you. Think about, even if you haven't been camping in a while. When I just had my son out at a neighbor's campfire the other day, and even in North Shore, New Orleans, and Covington, Louisiana, you could look up, you can see all these stars, and there was a campfire going, and it's like all of a sudden there's this wealth of splendor that comes back. And it's like, man, where has this been all along? Like this last 8 months when I've been moving around, getting settled down here in Louisiana. Well, the answer is it's been there all along. You just haven't paid attention to it. So I want you to dip into this experience of trying to re-engage with eye contact with attractive women in your neighborhood, in your town, because I want you to understand that there is no life until you're in real life. There is no this quick little dopamine hit, this hot girl in a bikini dance around on your screen. It's fleeting. It's diminishing in returns. It has less and less of an impact each time. And honestly, it kind of sucks. So what I would challenge you to do in point number 1 first is to understand what you are attracted to. look at your feed, see the things that the algorithm's throwing your way, and then go out and make a point this week to find those girls in real life. And again, listen, I don't want you to be freaked out here. I'm not saying go date these women. I'm not saying go successfully bed these women. What I'm telling you to do is to get out of the quote unquote TikTok rot or the doom scrolling brain rot. Get out of that for a moment and dip into the excitement of seeing a living, breathing woman right there that you can create value for. So let's say for me, it's like thick thighs and banging bottoms. That's CrossFit girls, essentially. So say you're getting fed a bunch of CrossFit girls in your feed. Go to a trial class at CrossFit. Even if you're overweight, even if you got a bum shoulder like me, or you feel like your knee hurts, go engage yourself in that experience for a minute, and then you will find this world, one at a minimum, where the social media models, quote unquote models that you're following on social media in your local area, one, you're around them, and two, you're having real interactions with them, which gets you a step closer to asking them out. And again, I would never teach you what they call sniping. I will never teach you to single out just one girl and say, hey, I'm going to get her, because that really, really works. The odds are stacked against you. There's too much investment in it. It never really works out the way you want it to. But I am saying if you get yourself in that circle, in that social environment, you are that much closer to having those women naturally gravitate toward you and you being able to ask them out and take them out on dates. Another one is jujitsu. Like I used to get a lot of jujitsu girls in my feed when I was in Austin with the 10th Planet gym out there. Well, I had a private trainer at 10th Planet, and they would see me drilling with him privately in the little octagon that they had. And I recognized some of these girls because they had followed me or I had followed them. So I made a point to just go up and say, hey, how you doing? I'm Chad from whatever. It's nice to finally put a name to the Instagram face. So, have fun with it, but work your way slowly into weaning yourself from all this like hunched over digital content into getting into that in real life stuff. You tracking? Do you understand what I'm saying here? So why does this matter? Point number two, the reason you've got to meet your Instagram model in real life is because one, the channel is way too crowded. The problem that I have with middle-aged men that come to me that are trying to crack this nut is they go right into social media and they'll ask questions like, she viewed my story. She keeps viewing my stories. Does that mean she likes me? Or she put a heart on my post. Does that mean she likes me? And the answer is not really. Like one, she might not even realize that it's you who she's talking to in that moment. There are so many junk pics and there's so many random thirsty dudes that are throwing themselves at her in her messages that you will never stand out on social media unless you are like an Adonis. And I'm talking, even if you were Brad Pitt, they probably wouldn't even believe you're Brad Pitt. So if you're a guy like me, and I've been very candid about saying that, I'm a 7.2, but because I've learned skills and charisma and charm and how to approach and confidence and strength, courage, and authenticity, I can elevate myself in an attractive woman's eyes up to an 8 and a 9. So if you're like me, that's a 7.2, that's honestly what I would consider just slightly above average. You're not going to stand out in social media. Even me. Nobody cares about another 40-something-year-old dude with basic corporate haircut and a polo jumping into their messages. You got to get out in real life. You have to control scarce resources. You have to show a confidence and a willingness to talk to this woman in person, to make her smile, to not need anything from her, to demonstrate non-neediness, non-thirstiness in person, to show that you are not fazed by her beauty. Think about that. And again, I've mentioned this before, but if you know a hot girl, ask to look at her messages for a minute. It will terrify you. I'm talking like innocent creepiness is comments about feet to begin with. And it just goes into a dumpster fire from there. So you'll never compete with that noise. And a kind of a strange side example, if you followed Tim Ferriss back in the day, he talked about how he got in front of major influencers beginning like way back when we were still talking about blogs and stuff and video wasn't even a huge thing. He would pay to go to these conferences and he would talk to the panelist, not even like the most popular one. He would just start getting in real life with these panelists. And he said it very correctly because in person, in real life was the least crowded channel. So if you want to have massive success with women, you have to find a way to pattern interrupt. One, when you're actually introducing yourself and setting out, but two, you can't chase where every other guy's running. You can't be in those crowded channels. Does that make sense? This one's a big one. Honestly, if I could just shake you for 1 minute and say, why do you go find your Instagram girl in real life? Because you'll never succeed on this channel. You'll just burn out. And then you'll go home to bed every night, like pissed off at the world or thinking that dating's unfair or all these ridiculous comments on Reddit like, oh, the modern dating is over. The modern women thinks too much. Bro, do something about it. Do you know what I mean? Okay, problem number three with Instagram and why you have to get out to your Instagram girl in real life. They're not that hot. And listen, I know this sounds disparaging and women will come back and say that's subjective, but in a world of filters, in a world of damn good cameras, like even this camera setup that I've got up with the nice light, it just makes the lighting makes me look good. It's a more attractive shot because of it. These girls are not are beautiful to be clear. Like again, attractive women are attractive women, but they're not that hot. They're put on a pedestal because they can take pictures of themselves and take 50 something of them. I've seen my wife do it. And again, I think my wife's hot. So I'm not throwing stones at her, but these women will take like 30 to 50 shots and then they'll find the two that make it to Instagram. So I know that sounds obvious, like clearly social media is highly curated, but what I'm telling you is beyond even the curation, that is not what she looks like in real life. And I go back to the jujitsu girls because I met a handful of them at 10th Planet. And one, they're impressive. Two, they can roll way better than me. And three, they actually are attractive. But when you look at them trying on all their freaking tights and everything on these affiliate videos that they put out all the time, you're staring at her ass, to be frank. You know, like you're not seeing the actual woman in front of you. You're not seeing her insecurities. You're not seeing the way her eyes dilate or not when you say hi. You're not seeing the way she checks something she's slightly insecure about. So you never get a real read on this woman because you're too focused. You're just trying to throw fire emojis or flower emojis or hearts are even the worst. Like, and listen, gentlemen, if you're throwing the kiss blowing emoji, bro, message me ASAP, man. Like, let's get you squared away. You're getting set up for disappointment. That's another reason I am in full favor of online dating apps. I think that they're a relevant addition in your toolbox, especially if you're a busy professional or an entrepreneur. I even encourage paying for some of the premium features on these apps so that I used to travel a ton with work. And if I was going to be in San Diego, I would put my Tinder in San Diego a week before I got there. Or if I was going to be in Colombia, I would put my Tinder in Colombia a week before I got there. That saved me time. I didn't have to get there and start swiping left and right. So my point is, these things are necessary. It's helpful, but I tell every man, nothing is real until you're checking for Adam's apples. Or in this case, no amount of chemistry that you feel is real until you get in person with this woman and you can feel her insecurities and she can see your authenticity or feel your true masculinity. Because there's a lot of guys that are creepy and faking it online also. So it kind of goes both ways. You got to get out there in person as soon as possible. All right. Fourth point. Social media in and of itself encourages narcissism. And this isn't a big psychobabble point that I want to make, but let's go back to the CrossFit example. When you're doing hard things with people, an interesting bond is created. You get to know something about that woman or that man's character. You get to see how they react to things. You get to see how they adjust to stressful situations. That is real life connection. But when you're just looking at social media, you're only seeing the narcissistic side of it. And it's not entirely your fault or our fault. The algorithms are rewarding it. So there's a reason when you post something on social media, the algorithm shows it right back to you right away, even though it's ranking way down in the crapper. The algorithm wants you looking at yourself because we like looking at ourselves. Even Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People, he points out that there's no sweeter sound to another person than the sound of their name or something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. So You got to get off social media as soon as possible because I don't want you seeped in this narcissism also. You'll start to find bots or catfishing or just weird little engagements that are pandering to your ego on social media. That's this toxic sort of play on your own narcissism, and that's not real. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to get you laughing, toasting, having a drink with an attractive woman on a date across from you with the actual potential of escalating and building a healthy relationship because it's starting off from the beginning with this sort of nastiness. Does that make sense? It's hard to put my finger on that with descriptions besides just saying that it's encouraging narcissism, but I don't want you in that world. I want you to remove yourself from it as fast as possible by getting out there in real life and saying hello to these girls and locking eyes with them and feeling that charge. All right, number 5, and this is the kicker. When you surround yourself with real women, 2 things happen. 1, you are flooded with with the correct reward hormones. When you get on social media, you feel this quick little buzz in the brain, but it instantly feels like this aching letdown. It's like if you've ever tasted the aftertaste of Splenda, you just know that there's something off there. But when you're around real women, you feel the same spark, you feel the same intimidation with those women, but you get the reward, the positive feedback of knowing, wow, she liked my shoulders, or she was affected by my smile, or I said all the right things, or the conversation just flowed for a little bit, or I got her number. That's a real success. That builds that immovable confidence within you. That builds this stack of wins that you need to get better and better at this. And then 2, your own Instagram becomes a gold mine because you have more social proof. You have other people around you. It becomes almost this story where you are the content and you're not trying to like curate yourself. You can show yourself in stories hanging out and having fun with anyone, high value men, men at CrossFit, men at jiu-jitsu, women at running clubs are a great one. Any weekly meetup. I do an entrepreneurs meetup now. Like these are all people that I'm thrilled to put in my stories or thrilled to put on my social media. And that feels good. That is encouraging. That is this real positive tribe building feel. You with me? Versus think about you're alone at night. It's 1 a.m. You can't sleep. You're doing this new blue screen thing where you're flooding your eyes with blue light and you're just scrolling endlessly because there are 8 billion people in the world and there are exponentially more of these digital images available online. It's ridiculous. And now in the world of AI, you don't even know what's real or not. So you're just endlessly, you can never get to the bottom of it. You can never feel fully satisfied or satiated like you're talking to a real human being or building real connection. Does that make sense? This is big, guys. I want you to really think about this for a minute. 1, you can find this IG girl in real life. 2, you're probably already right next to 2 of them and don't even realize it. There's a girl, I won't put her on blast, but I've worked with her once or twice, and man, she's not attractive. And then I ran across her social media, and it stopped me for a minute because I was like, oh, wow, that's an attractive looking girl. But no, it's not because that's angles. That's selected photos. That's filters. That's weird hairstyles. It is false. It's a weird letdown. And I'm not exactly, I don't want to tell you how to avoid all the catfish traps because I would rather you just get out in person and experience real life. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you get in front of real girls, you feel real hormones. Your body gets to register real results. So now when your brain's doing its wrinkling and impressing these memories in your head, it is stimulus with reward. It is stimulus with consequence almost. It is stimulus with actual factual thing that you can measure down the line. And that is key. You will never, if you're just scrolling for hours and hours and then you go to bed, you wake up and you feel the same emptiness. You wake up and you feel the same loneliness. You wonder why the world feels so empty. You wonder why your anxiety is so high or why you have low patience when you're at work the next day. So get in front of real women, even if you're getting shot down. I challenge you today to go out and try to get shot down 10 times and just do it in a benign way. This isn't about being a player. This isn't about being a pickup artist. What I'm saying is just Go out to any girl that you're mildly attractive to and say, "Hey, how you doing tonight? I really like your outfit. Hey, do you think you want to hang out sometime later? What's your phone number?" And that's it. And just listen to what she says. If she's like, "Oh my goodness, wow, I'm so flattered. I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend." Say, "Oh, look, no worries. What was it, Rebecca? Thanks, Rebecca. It was so nice meeting you." And then walk on, do it again. Feel that. Just rewind this video 15 seconds if you need to. Feel that. You're alive. You're stronger than you were a couple seconds ago. You got real contact with the woman that you were attracted to. You got real feedback. You approached the world with strength, courage, and authenticity. And even though it didn't result in a phone number, you will be better at it the next time you do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is huge. All right. Point number 6. Your job as a man is to get out, meet women, polarize, and filter through the nose. Your job is not to flip through social media. Your job is not to be the subject of the thirst traps in the social media. That's a problem I'm seeing. I see this with the younger guys. I don't work with the young guys, but I see them like in junior high or high school. They do weird things on these apps, even their hairstyles when you look at it. And I realized the reason that that's being ingrained in them is because when they look at how successful girls their age are getting attention online, it's by being beautiful. Well, that doesn't work for men. That's not how a man's value is measured in the world. A man's value is measured in the world by how much he can produce, how much he can protect, how much he can build, not by beautiful he is, not even by how buff he is or by how V-taper he is. It is solely based on what he can produce, provide, and protect, what scarce resources he can cultivate and make available to offspring and his families. Like that's getting way down at its own survival core. It is not about how cute you can look in a headshot. In fact, the worst thing that ever happened to guys was when selfies became acceptable. And I remember that somewhere around 2014. I was newly single and Facebook was kind of blowing up by then. And I remember taking my first one before I was going out to meet some girls. And I was like, oh, it feels kind of strange. But then I got all these likes because people are used to scrapbooking on social media. So it encouraged that behavior. And I did it for a while until I learned otherwise. You've been trained wrong. You've been conditioned over these last 10, 15 years now to make yourself try to be some sort of Mona Lisa. And it's wasting your talents. It's blowing your position in the world. It is not what you are here to do. I don't want anyone here getting in the friend zone. I don't want anyone in here being confused about what their intentions are with the women as far as whether or not they like them. And I don't want anyone in here thinking that my goal is for you to just sit down and talk to her for an hour. In fact, that's the worst success story ever. I hate when guys come to me with that. We talked on the phone for hours. Gag me. You did nothing. You are the lukewarm experience that the Bible talks about being spit out of the mouth because it's gross. It feels nasty. Maybe she got some emotional support from that. Maybe she appreciates your time on that. But if you liked this woman, if you were attracted to her and wanted to escalate this, that's not the way to go. You have to get her to a point where she's saying yes or no to your invitation to be romantically involved with you. Does that make sense? That's your job as a man. So bonuses on getting your Instagram girl in real life. Here's the bonus number 1. It's not as hard as you think. Instead of focusing on the girl, focus on the events and the places that they're at and get yourself inserted into those events. Again, the obvious ones that I've mentioned are CrossFit, Jiu-Jitsu, but less obvious ones are running clubs, Toyota Tacoma clubs, muscle car clubs. Anywhere where you think that there are attractive women and this is something you are mildly interested, start going to those things. Put yourself, don't be a cheapskate either. This is a problem a lot of men have. If you want to advance your inner circle, start putting yourself in an environment that has the women and the men that you want to hang around with. So if that means giving up your $24 a month gym membership so that you can go get a $250 gym membership, then bite the bullet, get it done. The business connections that I've made in this sauna alone have been invaluable to me at this expensive gym that I go to. And that's not, it's ridiculous to call it a hack because this isn't new information. Number 2, you have to find an indifference to beauty. I know this sounds ridiculous, but your approach, your neediness can never be, you're so hot. How do I make you happy? Do you feel that sort of like dog wagging its tail energy? You always have to find a way to be on the same level or just slightly above so that the girl's looking up to you. And when you're talking to her, talk to her on equal footing. I take my daughter to gymnastics now once a week, and there's some hot moms in there sometimes. Well, I don't say weird things like, hey, those Lululemon leggings are super sexy. No, I knock everyone off of a pedestal and just talk about the real reality of things and let them come to me. You want to establish yourself as a man that's centered, as a man with strength, courage, and authenticity. And that doesn't happen when you're chasing. Once you start chasing, they run away. And so, really, the third bonus is stop following them on social media. It is a waste of your time. Don't invite them to follow you on yours. Don't chase them after theirs. Don't be liking all their stuff unless you know them personally. That's my rule of thumb. If I've had real interaction with them, I will follow them on social media. But stop chasing them and get them to notice you in these environments and start building your social circle and your relevance within that community. And then you will notice they start following you. If you like this video, I want you to like and subscribe. Find me on whatever platform you're on. Send me a message. I want to hear from you. I will see you in the next one.